welcome to the regular meeting of an executive session. Well, we don't have an executive session planned, but just in case, of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors. We'll also be sitting as all special taxing districts. This is in November the 7th, 9 a.m. meeting, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Supervisor Lyons.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And we'll continue with the call to the public. Call to the public is held for the public benefit to allow individuals to address issues within the board's jurisdiction. Board members may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to Arizona Rights statutes, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to criticism, or scheduling the matter for further discussion and a decision at a future date. Public comments may be made in person or submitted by email at publiccomment@yumacountyaz.gov. The email forms of public comment will be accepted until 8 a.m. the morning of the meeting. All public comments will be read during the Yuma County Board of Supervisors meeting that starts at 9 a.m. Desiree, do we have any email?
Good morning. Yes, we have two emails. All of the board members were also copied. They are from Gisela and Michael Aaron, Arizona residents, who discussed their lack of trusted voting machines.
Anything else? All right. We do have some forms here, speaker forms. And again, you don't have to fill out a speaker form. If you want to address the board, I will leave open the call to the public throughout the meeting so that if you getting late or if you just haven't got the guts yet or haven't got it, you can always come up later. And if you're here to discuss a specific item, we will open that item normally to the public to discuss or to comment on, not to discuss, to comment on. I'll begin the public section, speaker section with Gail Castriglione. I mean, she's been here like 20 times and I still can't pronounce her last name correctly.
If you were back east, that'd be correct.
And I do appreciate the don't give up thing.
Oh, yes.
Although, let me tell you, Gail, I like the one where the two vultures are looking at each other. One tells the other one, hey, let's go out and kill something. This is just way too long.
Well, good morning. My name is Gail Castricone. I am the neighborhood advocate for the Avenue B and C Colonia. My frog here, my sister-in-law had made that for me in 1993 when I was going through some tough times, and it just happened to show up in all my paperwork piles this week, and I thought it was appropriate for the time we're having in the Colonia. Our steering committee has been moving forward with our monthly meetings, neighborhood meetings, and it continues to grow. Our Butterfly Project is focusing on the large number of children in our area. They are the real victims of the slumlords, drugs, and violence. We have met with several law enforcement officers because of the huge increase of violent crime in our area. And this is just a few of them. Deputies and police respond to the large fight in Yuma. That was just the other day. Deputies investigating case after man shot. Sheriff's office investigating murder. Man killed on 5th Street. That's all where my family home is. I want you to know that where our family home is located in one of the most dangerous areas because my daughter lives right where the canal is, where the vacant lots are, where the alleyway is, where she can see Bam Park from there. And so she is seeing a lot of people that are high on drugs that are coming close to her house, and she's always alerted by her dogs. But unfortunately, my 21-year-old granddaughter, what she wanted for her birthday was a gun, and that's what she sleeps with by her bed. She is just so concerned, and to put you at rest, she She was raised, she was on the mission field in Guatemala with my daughter's family, and she's has her concealed weapon permit, and she knows how to shoot well. But isn't that sad that she has to be that afraid? In fact, she used to sleep. She has the whole upstairs, and she used to sleep up there. Now she sleeps downstairs, so she's closer to her mom and dad. When I go door to door in the BNC Colonia, people have guard dogs in their yards and chains on their gates. Many of them feel like they are prisoners in their own homes. Supervisor Pancrazzi has worked hard to address our concerns and help us seek solutions. I have met with law enforcement, a local pastor in WACOG. I was very shocked to find out that emergency rental assistance was given to landlords that have substandard and dangerous living conditions for their tenants. It is our hope and our prayer that code enforcement and law enforcement would be your top priority. Thank you for your time. Romans 12:21 says, "Do not overcome evil by don't be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." God bless you. God bless America, and I'm looking forward to voting.
Chairman, or Gail?
Gail.
Just a quick question, Gail.
Yes.
On your thing here, you noted that the meeting was at the Lighthouse Church the first Tuesday. What time?
Okay, it says 6:30, but I have only passed those out to you, and I have notified our neighbors. We are going to be starting at the First Baptist Church on January 1st, and it's going to be at 6:30. And so we're going to be passing out that information to the neighborhood. It'll be the first Tuesday of every month at the Baptist Church, and it's right on Avenue C and 8th Street. So that's good. But I'll keep you guys posted just in case you want to come visit, okay?
All right, I've got two more, but they're all, well, one of them is from Chris Kohler, and he wants to talk in the regular public hearing item number 2, and the other one's from Joe Blanco, who also has an item, I think it's D3. I don't get it.
I'm representing the applicant for that matter.
All right, so, okay, all right. So when the time comes, just ask to come up. All right, so we're going to continue, and the next item in the agenda, again, leaving the public section open. We're going to go to presentations, proclamations, and appointments. And during this segment of the agenda, board members may discuss the presentations and proclamations and may announce appointments to the Yuma County Planning and Zoning Commission and the Yuma County Board of Adjustment. There will be no legal action taken. The first item is the presentation of the Yuma County Quarterly Safety Excellence Award that have been given to more? Public Library and Public Library. I can't spell the administrator's last name, so they gave me Mugehi. Yeah, look, I'll give it a best shot. Ian, come up.
Morning, Chairman Reyes, members of the board, Ian McGahey, County Administrator. Safety is a priority for Yuma County, as you know. We strive to ensure that Yuma County employees have a safe, secure, and healthful place in which to work. The success of Yuma County and Superior Court is the direct result of the hard work and innovation that our valued employees deliver every day. The Safety Excellence Award recognizes county employees who consistently promote safety in the workplace. Any employee can nominate another employee for the Safety Excellence Award. All nominees are screened for eligibility, and the committee selects the winner. Nominees are recognized in the UCount newsletter. They receive a certificate of achievement, a challenge coin, a safety pen, and an Arctic mug. The winner of the Safety Excellence Award will receive an Arctic USafe tumbler and a check for $100. All nominees will be automatically submitted for the annual Safety Excellence Award with the prize of $250. I'll now hand it over to Safety Compliance Supervisor Martina Espinoza to introduce you to the nominees.
Thank you, Ian. Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Martina Espinoza, Safety Compliance Supervisor. Next to me is Monica Escalante, Safety Technician Program 2. I'm pleased to recognize all the Safety Excellence nominees of the third quarter of 2022 and announce the winner. Today, we will be recognizing 2 employees that were nominated for the third quarter Safety Excellence Award from the months of July through September of this calendar year. I would like for each employee to come forward next to the podium when I call your name to be recognized as a Safety Excellence nominee. We have Minnie Sue Samniego, JP2. If I could have Scarlett Harper. She's here representing Minnie. Minnie Samniego works for Justice of Peace 2 as a court operation manager. Minnie has been in this role for 5 years and has been with the county for 13 years. Minnie had knowledge of JP2 operating an outdated security system. Minnie took initiative and applied for a safety grant fund through the Arizona Supreme Court in February 2022. Months later, on July 5th, 2022, JP2 received an information that their application was approved for the full amount of $35,018. The monies will offset the costs of the county budget approved for this fiscal year, 2023, saving the county money. JP2 is now one step closer to a new security system to ensure the safety of the public, employees, and property. JP2 also shares the building with other departments and offices. Minnie conducts regular random inspections of the entire building to ensure the safety compliance, and also identified that other departments were missing first aid kits. Minnie took, again, initiative and effectively communicated with other department safety officers to resolve the situation. Thank you, Minnie.
Well, why don't we, like, you want a picture with us?
Yes, I want
We're not
one.
gonna charge you anything.
We still have one more nominee.
Okay, bring him on.
Our second nominee is Roberto Gutierrez.
Roberto?
We have Kelly Freaky. She's interim director for Public Works. Roberto Gutierrez works for Public Works as a traffic signal technician. Roberto has been in this role for 3 years and has been with the county for 18 years. Roberto has exceptional safety awareness while at any job site. On one occasion, Roberto identified a serious electrical hazard which prevented a potential contact with electrical current. Roberto took action by properly setting up physical barriers around the hazard and quickly reported the issue. Due to Roberto's observation, critical thinking, and incident reporting, the electrical hazards were properly eliminated, preventing an electrical accident from occurring. Roberto practices safe work procedures by keeping others and himself safe at all times. Roberto has been on several safety committees. He is constantly vocal about identified safety concerns or issues which could affect himself or others. Roberto strives and encourages Yuma Public Works to always be a safe workplace. Thank you, Roberto.
We're gonna take a picture with everyone and then with the winner.
Yes.
Yeah. So, as long as the safety mission, I feel allowed to go in.
Yes.
No. Yeah, well. Especially the JP. You're gonna do that. Right, can we just move aside and wait until the winner comes in and then we'll take a picture?
Okay.
And before I announce the winner, I also like to recognize the individuals that nominated the two safety nominees. Yuma County Safety Division, thanks for your nomination. Your effort to ensure that the employees' appreciation for safety and safe acts in the workplace do not go unnoticed. So thank you to the Honorable Juan Guerrero from JP2, and thank you, Christian Figueroa from Public Works. It's the little things that make the biggest impacts in our safety culture. After much deliberation, the Safety Committee selected the winner. I am pleased to announce the third quarter award winner recipient for the third quarter, Minnie Samniego, JP2. And representing is Scarlett.
A check, don't spend it all in one place. Yeah, get back.
Minnie, yeah, get in here. Yeah.
That's okay. We make the check out to your name, so. All right, congratulations,
You need
okay?
to make sure Tony can say your last name first.
Bye.
Ian, look what I did.
McGahee. He tried.
McGahee.
Mugahi.
McGahee.
I'll keep practicing. I'm sure I'll get it one of these days.
It was called inventive spelling when I taught kindergarten.
I had a tough time with Smith. All right, the next item in the agenda is a proclamation. We will be proclaiming November 19, 2022 as Adoption Day in Yuma County, and we'll have Supervisor Lyons read the proclamation.
Proclamation, November 19th, 2022 is Adoption Day in Yuma County. Whereas more than 2,508 children are in Arizona foster care system waiting to be adopted, and in Yuma County there are approximately 205 children in foster care, of which 40 who are waiting for permanent families, and foster care is designed to be temporary, yet the average time a child waits for an adoptive family is 575 days. And National Adoption Day is a collective national effort to find permanent loving families for children in foster care. And on Saturday, November 19th, 2022, National Adoption Day will be celebrated in all 50 states, offering children the opportunity to live with permanent, stable, and loving families, during which adoptions, it's covered up. Now, therefore, the Yuma County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims the day of November 19th, 2022 to be Adoption Day in Yuma County, during which adoptions will be finalized for children in the Yuma County Juvenile Justice Center. I urge all residents to join in local, state, and national efforts to raise awareness about the importance of becoming a foster parent and to consider becoming an adoptive parent during November and throughout the year.
So we're told that the Honorable Erin Ferrara will be present to receive.
Very honorable.
There she is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll give it, you want to say something before that?
Sure, if I may, is there a time limit?
Yeah, no.
I'm
For
told
you,
for judges, there's time
For
limits.
you, no, but for other people, probably 3 minutes.
Good morning to you all and Mr. Chairman. I'm Erin Farrar. I'm the presiding judge of our juvenile court here in Yuma County. And we have been participating in National Adoption Day since about 2008, 2009. It's truly an honor and just a special day to celebrate our families. I can tell you that this year we will have 15 children who will be getting to celebrate their forever families. It's quite an accomplishment. It's quite a special day, and so many people come together to make this truly once in a lifetime memory for these children and our families. And I can tell you that every year that I've been able to participate in, I'm just in awe at the family members, both who are blood and non-blood, that come together and open their arms and their hearts and their homes to, at times, strangers. So it's truly just a remarkable event to participate in. And we thank Yuma County for its ongoing support.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Who's the last one at this moment?
1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you for making it
It's a
really
big
quick.
celebration. Oh,
Thank
it
you all.
is.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Lynn.
Right, I've been taking care of that. We will move on then to, oh, 2 more? At the library here?
Mm-hmm.
I want to get back a little bit. There was 2 additional call to the public cards that were given to me, kind of a little late in the process, but I still think we can. Is there some announcements to be made or anything? Library? It's Caleb and Tanya, right? I guess Caleb is going to come over. Oh, this is dangerous. Hold on. Just let me take a breather here. No.
Good morning. My name is Caleb Wright. Have you ever been super excited about something and then you're completely let down? Well, that's kind of what happened to me. It all began one day. I asked my mom if we could go to the Yuma County Public Library. Once we got to the kids section, I told her I was tired of checking out and reading the same books repeatedly. It was quite obvious that I was outgrowing that area of the library. As much as I had enjoyed checking out books from the kids section and created unforgettable memories within my favorite characters, it was time to move on to bigger and greater things. I was going to turn 13 in a matter of months, and since I had heard from my friends that there was a teen room at the library, I was itching to check it out. My mind started racing and my heart started pounding. I was finally going to be old enough to graduate to teen books. As we were going up the stairs of the main library, I felt very excited to be able to check out and read books that were not so kiddish. We got to the top of the stairs and looked around for the teen room. Finally, we saw a sign at the back of the building that said teen room on it and went in. At first glance, I was kind of uncomfortable because, number one, the lights were very dim in there. It gave me a feeling that it was a room for just teens to lounge around. It was not lit enough to do homework, and certainly not lit enough to read a book. Number two, when I looked around, I noticed that the room had its own Wi-Fi name and passcode. No wonder all the teens in there were on devices instead of reading books. Number three, the only books that in there were either anime books or the I wish you were dead kind of stuff. I didn't like that at all. I picked up a book just randomly called Soul Snatcher. I opened it to the middle of the book. I saw something very revolting. I immediately slammed the book shut, and I told my mom that this book was not age appropriate. We started to look around some more, and sure enough, almost all of the books were like that. I told my mom, this is disgusting. There's nothing here for me, and I want to leave. We left without checking out anything. I was extremely disappointed. As we walked back down the stairs, I felt crushed and deflated. All that excitement about being a teen amounted to nothing. I don't belong at the library anymore. The kids' books are too young for me, and the books in the teen room are not age appropriate. I resigned myself to going back to the kids section to check out the same books for the millionth time. I'm not here just to tell you my sad story. I'm here to ask you for help. Can you please work with my mom and the public library to get age-appropriate books for kids that are ages 13 to 17? My friends and I really need and want a fun place to hang out and not have to worry about inappropriate material. But most importantly, we need and want awesome books to feed our imaginations. Thank you.
Well said. I'm sure that everybody that it's going to do something about it already heard it, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Tanya Wright, Caleb's mom. I just want to say that we love the Yuma community. When my husband was stationed here at YPG as a Special Forces free fall instructor, we loved Yuma so much that we decided to stay after he retired. So we have been in the Yuma community for over 11 years. This has been my daughter's home. She's 10. So when we moved here, I was pregnant with her. Libraries have always been a big part of our lives, and we love, no matter how many libraries we visited, we love the public library here. I will say it's beautiful, and it offers a vast list of materials, especially for the children. The children's section is so big. There are so many options there. And continuing with Caleb's story, we did roam around the teen room. We had never been upstairs to that room. He was so excited to go see it that that was his first experience, his first impression. He wanted to share that experience with you. And I also looked around the teen room that day, and I was also shocked that 13-year-olds would be exposed to that kind of material. I think that the material that I saw was more gearing towards the upper teens and maybe older. I later heard that they're labeled young adult. So in looking at young adult, it's more 18 to 22. So the teen room says 13 to 18. And I said, okay, let's collaborate and work together with the library so we can bridge that gap. If you go to the downstairs area, the children's section, and walk around, and then immediately go upstairs to the teen room, there is a big gap in material. There's a little bit missing there. And so we were so gracious to be able to meet with the library director, wonderful, and her deputy director. A friend and I went, Russ Clark and I went, and we asked questions. They were so accommodating, and I love the openness that they were listening to us. I said we want to work together to bridge that gap. I love that they focused on no censorship. I completely agree with that because we know that censorship goes both ways. So we're not asking for censorship. We're just asking for a balance because when material is tilted too much in one direction, then some feel disenfranchised. And so the library director, who I am so glad that she's here, thank you so much, her deputy emailed me a form. So we fill out this form and then a librarian looks at the form, and based on the information, they are able to help children find material that they will like. And I love that idea. So instead of just filling out the form, I printed several dozen of them and handed them out to community families here that also feel that the content is not meeting their needs. So they can make their voices heard. And these are all of the forms that I got back. I will definitely make sure that the library director gets these. And just to bring it home, what I'm asking the board is to just consider going over the material in that room. And maybe there needs to be a separate young adult section and focusing really on just teen content in that room. So if the board does decide and the library does decide to remove those books, the young adult books, and they can have a separate section, I have put together, crowdsourced, a list of over 500 book titles that are geared towards the age group of 13 to 17, just to help them started. We really do want to collaborate. We're not here just to say, hey, we had an experience and we want to do something about it. We love our community. We really want to make that a better place. So in closing, I just want to thank the library again for meeting with us and for listening, being so accommodating. And I really love this idea of the form. I think we need to get this out there more for families to know that, hey, I didn't find what I was looking for, but there's a way of letting them know that there would be a really, that there's a way to speak out. And I also want to thank the Board of Trustees at the library for making the meeting possible. But that's not enough. We really want to fill that much needed gap in the teen room. So let's give our children a passion for reading by providing them with books that they will appreciate and keep them coming back for more. I am so happy to just collaborate in any way that I can. As an educator myself, that is what my degrees are on, education, and I also was a teacher. Now I'm a homeschool mother. I'm more than happy to help in this. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, because it's hardly, we're used to getting criticism. That's just part of the job. But somebody that comes up with a suggestion about how to resolve a problem is always refreshing. Thank you very much, Mrs. Wright. I keep saying that we keep the call to the public open, so when people walk in, whether they're walking a little late or whether they walk in or hear something that interests them, we do keep it open. And I saw some people walk in. Do you want to say something in the call to the public, or do you want to wait until your item comes up? Is that it? Your item comes up? All right, thank you very much. We're going to continue with the agenda. And again, if you feel the need, just let me know. The next item in the agenda is a presentation of the county line by Yuma 77, the Yuma County Government Channel.
The post-election process will soon begin. We'll explain what happens after Election Day. Arizona Health Zone coordinates a community meeting at the San Luis and Maine libraries. Also, Adoption Day is near. We've got the details of the upcoming event. These stories, a whole lot more. This is your County Line. Election Day, November the 8th, will soon be behind us. After Election Day, local officials who handle the day-to-day operations are the first juncture in the post-election process. After the polls close, local election officials will continue counting ballots, process provisional ballots, and report all results to the Secretary of State. Also, they prepare the final results to be canvassed by the Board of Supervisors. It is at this point your ballot has fulfilled its democratic duty, and election staff are busy preparing your next round of voting for the next election.
The elections office never stops even when the election is over. So often what we do almost immediately is evaluate what went well, what didn't go as well, how we can improve election administration for the next election cycle.
Now, for additional information, just call Voter and Election Services at 928-373-6034, or you can visit them at their website, and that's yumacountyaz.gov/Voter and Election Services. The Arizona Health Zone program of the Yuma County Public Health Services District recently invited the public to the San Luis and Maine libraries to learn the results of their food and physical activity environmental assessment. It was just about 2 years ago, Yuma County Public Health Services District's Arizona Health Zone program funded a food and physical activity environment assessment with the help of some consultants. The assessment looked at neighborhood environments that can influence people's abilities to be active and access food.
We all live in these communities, and so everyone's voice counts. We are hoping that as people get involved, they can see the possibilities. They can see their own potential in being change makers.
The purpose of these community presentations are to share the results, share in the dialogue, and view a photo voice exhibit. Arizona Health Zone's goal is for everyone to have the opportunity to attain their highest quality of health, no matter who they are, no matter where they live. If you'd like more information about Arizona Health Zone Services programming and eligibility, just call the Health District at 928-317-4632. Loving families with open hearts will soon gather at the Yuma County Juvenile Courthouse. Several children will be given new hope and a fresh start as National Adoption Day is celebrated on November the 19th. Adoption Day is geared toward raising awareness about the plight of children locally without families. Some of the children, who range in age from newborns to teenagers, are victims of abandonment, neglect, and abuse.
It's just this special day that consists of our families and children having an opportunity to achieve permanency, stability, safety, and of course their forever home.
It is the end of a long road for many, and with the bang of a gavel, a new chapter begins with Forever Families.
I don't think that there will be a person here without a smile on their face, especially these children who, again, finally get that opportunity to be part of a forever family.
The festive atmosphere will include cartoon characters, stuffed animals will be given to the children, and games are provided while everyone waits for their turn in the courtroom. This will be the 14th annual Adoption Day celebrated in Yuma County. If you would like information on foster and adopt programs in Yuma County, just call 928-314-1801. Now, the groundbreaking ceremony for the Magrino Industrial Park Phase 4 was held recently to the east of the Commercial Port of Entry 2 in San Luis. This project will introduce water, drainage, electricity, internet, and paving for the development of the fourth phase of the industrial park. The first 3 phases of the industrial park have already been sold. In addition, the Cocopah tribe has 26 acres available for lease. For the fourth phase, there is already a potential buyer for the 86 acres who will be dedicated to industrial real estate. This project will draw industries to Yuma County and provide more opportunities to San Luis and all communities in South County.
Hi, I'm Mary, and this is your Health Watch. The Great American Smokeout annual event takes place November 17th and is an opportunity for people who smoke or vape to commit to a smoke-free life. No matter your age or how long you have been smoking, quitting improves health both immediately and over the long term. Quitting smoking helps improve heart and lung health and lowers your risk of diabetes. Some immediate benefits begin 20 minutes after quitting. Your heart rate and blood pressure drop, and after a few days, carbon monoxide levels in your blood drop to normal. Other immediate benefits are that food tastes better, sense of smell returns to normal, and ordinary activities leave you less out of breath. People who quit will notice improvement in their circulation and lung function in the first 3 months of quitting, and their risk for a heart attack drops dramatically within the first year. The American Cancer Society can help you access the resources and support you need to quit, or you can call the Arizona Smokers Hotline at 1-800-784-8669, or for assistance in Spanish, 1-855-335-3569, to speak with a quit coach to set goals and create a personal quit plan.
We like to take a moment each quarter to recognize our Safety Award winner. This quarter we recognize Minnie Sue Samaniego, who works as Court Operations Manager at our Justice of the Peace offices. Minnie worked with many different departments to upgrade the security camera system that had been outdated for several years. She submitted an application for safety grant funds that was approved in the full amount of $35,018. She found areas in the building that were in need of a first aid kit and made sure all first aid kits in the building were stocked. Minnie conducts regular inspections to assure the safety of the entire building, not just for her department, and is why Minnie Samaniego is the Safety Excellence Award winner this quarter. Now, before we go, a couple of very important dates for you to remember. Be sure to remember that Friday, November the 11th, is Veterans Day. Most of your county offices will be closed as we honor those men and women that have served our nation. Also, Thanksgiving is just a couple weeks away, and most of your county government offices will be closed on November the 24th and the 25th, so that your county employees can enjoy their holiday with their family. Thank you for joining us this County Line. We'd like to know of any story ideas you might have, so let us know. And if you're looking for stories we've covered in the past, log on to our website at yumacountyaz.gov/VOD. We'll see you next time on your County Line.
All right. That's kind of a leave us breathless kind of thing, but it's okay. We'll move on to consent calendar. We should take care of this. The following items are listed under the consent agenda will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion unless the board members so request. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. Do I hear a motion or?
Motion to approve all except 15 and 16. Mr. Chairman?
Got it.
You need to pull 18 as well. You had a typo, so on the number.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was
15,
yeah.
16, and 18, Mr. Chairman.
All right, gotcha. 15, 16, and 18, all the rest of the items are to be voted as a consent item. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. There's been a motion and second to approve consent calendars from item 1 through 18 with the exception of 15, 16, and 18. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to item 15 and 16, which I'm sure is the same type of.
Yeah.
So let me go and read them. Authorize the Public Works Interim Director to purchase 5 Chevrolet Malibu sedans, 1 Chevrolet 2500 pickup truck, and 6 Chevrolet 1500 pickup trucks from Chapman Chevrolet for an amount not to exceed $409,100. And on Public Works, to authorize the Public Works Interim Director to purchase 1 Ford Expedition SUV, 6 Ford F-150 pickup trucks, 2 Ford Transit Connect vans, 2 Ford Transit cargo vans, 3 Ford Ranger pickup trucks, 4 Ford F-250 pickup trucks, 1 Ford F-450 pickup truck, 1 Ford F-550 cab and chassis truck, and 4 F-350 cab and chassis truck from Alexander Ford in an amount not to exceed $1,346,000. Supervisor Lyons.
Just wanted to say thank you and congratulate you guys on being able to purchase locally on that contract and to be able to keep almost $2 million in the local economy.
Yes, I think that we always mention that. We, when this happens, we certainly want to recognize the fact that sometimes it's tough to do it, and you guys finding a way to do it certainly pleases all of us. And I think it does keep some of this money, most of this money in Yuma County, and we replace vehicles on a cyclic basis. So thank you for making the effort, and I hope the local dealerships appreciate it.
Yes. Do you have anything to say?
All right. Yes?
Does she have anything to say?
Good morning, Chairman Reyes, members of the board. I am Kelly Fricky, Interim Public Works Director. And we do understand the importance of keeping these purchases local, and we are pleased and
Chairman,
More happy. Yes.
we just needed to give the sheriff additional time to run over here. Oh, he made it.
He looks red in the face, so he might have just gotten here quick. We have an item there that's, that's an
Thank you.
amendment with the sheriff. Does he want to say anything?
I'm sure he does, but Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we pass 15 and 16.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to pass item 15 and 16. This is a discussion section, so do you want to say something, Sheriff? You know what this is about? Did you just get in? Oh, no, he's on 18, but I mean,
He's on
no,
18.
this is public works. This is public works, hold on.
We have to
This is a
vote.
public works item. Let me finish it up. We'll move into your section in a minute. I just wanted to see if you would walk over there. Thanks a lot. The motion's been made and seconded. Thank you very much. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Well, it feels nice to have him walk over, walk back, it's a thing with the Sheriff. All right, we'll move on to item number 18. Is it 18? Yeah, 18, the Sheriff's Office, authorize the Sheriff.
Advise you want to ask anyone opposed to that motion. That was
Oh, does anybody oppose the prior motion? Sorry. Anytime I see the Sheriff, I get a little nervous. But anyway, so the motion passes, nobody voted against it. We'll move on to the Sheriff's Office, authorize the Sheriff to purchase from Teledyne FLIR, FLIR, 2 thermal imaging binoculars in the amount not to exceed $170,000 funded by the State of Arizona Department of Emergency and Military Affairs, grant number M22-2027. There was a minor amendment that we needed to resolve it. I think the item was supposed to be $180,000 instead of $170,000. This is the correct amount being received from DEMA through the grant. So you want to come up, Sheriff? I mean, we moved this item up. I guess it was because we needed to change the amount, not necessarily because we weren't going to vote for it. But you're welcome to say a few words. Hopefully, you will understand when I say you quit while you're ahead. So.
Chair, members of the board, always good to see you in the morning, especially on a Monday. But yes, correct, that's why we're here, to address the typo. So if you have any questions, I'll try to answer.
Leon, these are for seeing the dark, huh?
That's more than seen it.
Yeah, so you could,
I won't advertise where we're gonna use them right now, but.
okay, that's okay. Thank you very much. Okay.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just congratulate the sheriff on his partnership with DEMA as he continues to bring those resources home to be able to deploy here in Yuma County.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, it's our privilege to bring tax dollars back into Yuma County. Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Mhm.
There was a motion? You made the
I'd
motion?
like the motion.
Is there a second?
Accept 18. Second.
Then a motion, a second to approve the item as presented with the amendment of the amount being 180,000 instead of 170, which is the amount of the grant. Any more discussion on this item? If not, all those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody opposed? I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, but come on, guys. I mean, I'm just kidding. Motion carries. So we move from those items, which are consent items, now to the discussion and action items. And the board will open each of the following items separately for discussion and action as appropriate. We'll begin with the County Administration, Public Health Services, District Emergency Management, discussion and possible action regarding updates on contagious infectious disease, issues and activities to include a discussion of events and activity occurring at the international border that involve or affect Yuma County Health or emergency management. Health Director, Mrs. Gomez.
Good morning, Chairman Reyes, members of the board, Diana Gomez, Director of Public Health. You may have heard of something being described as a triple-demic or a tridemic, and that's because we're seeing cases start to surge again. And what we're seeing is RSV, flu, influenza, and COVID. So just to give you some situational awareness, in the last 4 weeks, we've had 42 lab-confirmed cases of flu. We've had 31 lab-confirmed cases of RSV, and we're averaging about 12 cases of COVID a week. So our positivity rate still remains low.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead. No, somebody's trying to close the door and it's pushing it through, but it doesn't work that way. So
It just has to
whomever
go
knows
back
how
on
that
its
door
own.
works, go there and close it.
So we're seeing cases of RSV, which is a common respiratory virus in children, surge a little earlier than we normally would. And this is for many reasons. Most kids, it's a common virus, first of all, let's just say that. And most kids are exposed to it or become infected by it by the time they turn 2 years old. What we're seeing is a rise in cases, severe cases. So I just want to make the public aware so they know to look for the symptoms in case they need to seek medical treatment. So most of the time, RSV resolves itself within 2 weeks. But if there is complications, it could cause bronchitis or pneumonia in children, especially those under 2. And that's because their lung muscles in general are not strong enough to be able to cough up the secretions or the mucus that is produced with the virus. So we want to remind people to, just sanitize your surfaces. Make sure if you're sick, please stay home. RSV, like other respiratory viruses, is transmitted when you sneeze or cough. So just basic precautions. We want to remind people, if you're home, please stay sick. If you're sick, please stay home. And if you must go out, it's wear a mask. If you need to go out, we want to protect those that are most vulnerable. Infants and those that are sick can spread the virus for 3 to 8 days. But infants and those that are immunocompromised, adults with immunocompromised systems, can spread it much longer than that, even after they don't display symptoms. So they can be contagious up to 3 to 4 weeks after they stop displaying symptoms. And the holidays are coming, and we're all going to visit family, and we're all going to be traveling. So as an adult, just reminding other adults, if you've been recently sick, maybe stay away from the baby in the family, just to protect them. Use those precautions. So again, just reminding people to be vigilant. There's flu vaccine available. There's bivalent boosters. And again, we're just seeing those surges in cases with RSV, and we just want to remind people that, again, it's a common child virus. It usually self-resolves, but just look out for those symptoms. If your child experiences difficulty breathing, you know your child better than anybody else, please reach out to your health provider, ask those questions, and make sure you seek treatment to prevent something from becoming a more severe infection.
One thing before you leave that area, it's COVID-19 related, more like a comment than a question. It seems like we have gotten to a point now where everybody just doesn't necessarily believe that there's still this virus out there until it happens to someone near you. During the Halloween period in there, I took some kids trick-or-treating. One of the families ended up with COVID, and all 2 or 3 other kids ended up staying home. And the question was asked of me, and I didn't really have an answer because I forgot what the protocol is now. How many days are you supposed to stay out? When are you supposed to check? After you test negative, how long do you stay out? I think that we I have at least forgotten a lot of the protocols that have to be followed or that should be followed when somebody tests positive with COVID in your family. If you can, could you remind us a little bit if you can?
The quarantine period is much shorter. We obviously have better treatments. Most of us in the community have been exposed or recovered, so there's a level of immunity. But we usually say at least 5 days, and then we ask you to wear a mask. And basic regular coughing etiquette. I see a lot of well-meaning people cough into their hands, and then we touch everything, and that stays on the surfaces. So. Cough into your elbow, please, because those respiratory droplets stay on surfaces, and depending on some viruses survive longer than others. So just regular sanitation. But again, we ask people to stay home if you're sick. We have rapid tests available at the library, and you can get those. Those are free of charge. We ask people that if you're symptomatic and it comes back negative, just test maybe the next day. You will not get a false positive. You might get a false negative because those rapid tests are not as sensitive. The viral load on this new version, the latest version, the Omicron version, is much higher. So if you've been exposed, you will experience symptoms. Before, the window with the original virus was 15 days. You could get sick anytime between those 15 days or longer. Now we're seeing it within 3 days. So at least the minimum that the quarantine period is or isolation that we ask you to do is 5 days. But you can wear a mask. There's certain professions where healthcare providers or whatever are, as long as you're not actively showing symptoms, can return to work as long as they're wearing a mask.
So let me see if I can understand this. If you have symptoms, if you tested positive, you should isolate for 5 days and wear a mask. Especially within the family home where you have other kids. That turns out to be was the mother of this family ended up with COVID, and then the two kids that went trick-or-treating ended up with COVID too. And so I had to, we had to watch. I took 8 kids trick-or-treating. So as you can tell, that was a little bit difficult.
Chairman,
to
they
follow.
came home with all their candy? Or did you?
Ate some of it.
Okay.
But,
And we're all out and about, and we're all going to do that. And kids, kids are excited and they touch things, and it's very easy to spread the virus. So again, basic precautions. What we've been doing a pretty good job. We've been keeping it fairly low, the positivity level. So we just kind of want to remember that it's still out there. In addition to COVID, we have RSV and we have flu. So we don't want to overwhelm the healthcare system. And I think sometimes people just think of cases and people going to the emergency room with one of these conditions. But you have to remember that the people that work there get sick too. So the healthcare providers get exposed to that. And so sometimes that drain on the healthcare system, or that strain, is caused by both things. A, people coming in, and 2, the lack of healthcare providers to tend to them. And in the past with COVID, we had resources that we were able to deploy those teams of special dedicated healthcare providers to come and help. Those are resources that it's highly unlikely we'll be able to access again. So just a reminder for everybody, let's do our part so that we can all celebrate safely, continue to do the things we want to do with our families. And I know sometimes it's hard to miss out on stuff, but you always have to plan for the most vulnerable person in your family, whether that's an infant or an elderly relative living with you.
Well, that was a scary situation, but it was, I think, handled correctly. Any questions from Director? Director, I know sometimes you come and there's nothing really that interesting, but it's always interesting to us. And
Okay.
to let the public know that there are some things to watch out for.
This is what everybody else
We
says.
don't
It is
jump in- we don't
interesting,
jump
but thanks for
in joy,
listening.
but, it's interesting.
Mr. Chair, Director
question?
Diana,
Yes, ma'am.
the last COVID booster, when can people get it?
So the bivalent booster is available, and we ask that after 2 months after you complete your initial series. And the bivalent booster is not, you still have to get your regular series. This is not something that you should get as a first dose. So just a reminder for people. But again, free. Your pharmacies have it. We have it. Your local healthcare provider has it. And we, as a county health department, continue to go to the outlying areas and have clinics at flexible hours to ensure that accessibility is not an issue for the public.
I claim that I have 6 vaccines already, and I don't think I'm well protected. I should breathe on people and just have them avoid COVID now. But anyway, thank you very much, Director. Anything else? Is Tony here? Struck? Yeah, there he is. He's always wearing a mask, so.
Tony Padilla, Director of Emergency Management. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, here for any questions you might have. I have nothing to report.
Any questions for Tony?
Don't you have a training coming up?
Yeah, we have training on a regular basis on our county website. We have a G400, which is an advanced incident command. We have ongoing training in San Luis with fire departments going through hazardous technician course, which is a 200-hour course. We just finished up a G300, which is an incident command, and then we also have an advanced public information officer course coming up in December.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
Tony, how are we doing on the border?
We continue to monitor the border situation. If you want information, I can give that to you. But we continue to monitor. We still have the portable restroom facilities out there. I'm trying to get funding to reimburse the county for that. If not, I may be coming in the future for the board to seek some type of budget for that. It's been going on almost a year now. In December will be a year. But we continue to monitor it. Yuma County continues to have the normal flow that we have. And if you want the numbers, I can give those to you.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you, Tony.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, we're going to move into number 2, which is really moving quite fast, considering how much activity we've had. Wait until the health department ladies leave. So number 2 is actually development services. We were referring hearing officer case number HO22-00048 and HO22-00049 to the county attorney for action in Superior Court to obtain an order of abatement. Morning.
Craig Sellers, Director of Development Services.
These are the two cases that were brought before you last month on appeal. We are at this point requesting to refer these two cases to the county attorney for taking them to Superior Court to get a order of abatement from Superior Court. What that means is that Superior Court would have reviewed the case and determined that order was warranted and to order the owner of the property to clean up the violations.
Let me ask a question. Is this a public hearing or is it just a decision for us to make? No, it's not a public hearing? Okay, all right. So your question, Supervisor Lane?
Have we seen any improvement?
No, we were out there Friday, and this is some of the pictures that we saw on Friday.
So since our last meeting, when the owner's representative was here, they have not made any attempt?
You'll notice in the pictures that some of the streets are a little bit cleaner, but we're still seeing the trailers and we are still seeing trash.
How many abandoned trailers?
How many?
Yeah.
I'm not sure of the number, but it's multiple trailers. And as you can see in the photos, we've got quite a few just in the photos. Now, if you look at the upper right, the trash seems to be a little more organized, but it's still there.
It's still organized trash, right?
Question, in the summary, you basically state that you open up 4 cases, but these are just 2. Are those combined or are there 2 pending cases that are going through the process?
There's just 2 cases. The band trailer park is one ownership, but the parcel or the park is on 2 different parcels, and that's why we have 2 different cases. I think there might have been some confusion on
the numbers.
That interpretation of it's 2, one business multiplied by 2. There's just 2 cases. There's just 2 cases.
Any other questions on this? Because I think we spent a lot of time on it last time.
Yeah, I just have a quick, do they have trash containers there?
No.
They don't have a trash service, no. They take care of their own trash.
I know, yeah. Do we or maybe talking for the future on certain developments that are big or park places like this, that we should require the
service be opened up?
Yeah, that they should have, not leave it up to the individuals, but maybe to that whole trailer park. I know we don't have it, but maybe looking into the future to have something like
We could
that.
pass an ordinance requiring it.
Can we do it in the state statutes, John? You know, I mean, you know, it seems to me like you know, there's some issues about whether, you know, on the county you can require certain things. Behind you, Maggie's behind you. I guess she wants to.
Chairman, and just to keep you on the agenda, we can look into that down the line, but it's not an item before us
Okay,
today.
all right.
We're just seeking
Well, just a
approval for
question,
the
just a
abatement.
Yeah, just, you know.
Right, got it. All right, so we're talking about the abatement. You move?
I move that we take case number HO22 through 0048 and HO22 0049 to the county attorney for action in the Superior Court to obtain an order of abatement.
I'll second.
All right, all right. There's been a motion and second to go ahead and continue with the process and basically refer the cases to the county attorney for action in Superior Court. There's been a motion and a second. Any more discussion on the item? If not, all those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Now, I do want to ask Mr. Blanco, Joe Blanco, where D3?
Yeah.
Is it the next item?
No, yeah, next item.
So it's on the consider request to abandon existing right away? Okay, got it. Because I just want to make sure I didn't skip you over. All right. Okay, so we're opening up item number 3, which is to conduct a public hearing and consider a request to abandon an existing alley right away located north and east of the property at 3760 West 8th Street, all within Section 19, Township 8 South and Range 23 west of the Gila and Salt River Base in Meridia, Yuma County, Arizona, and if the board approves the request, adopt and authorize the chairman to sign a resolution for the abandonment. I suppose that we'll first turn it over to staff for a description of what they're asking us to do. Go ahead, Frank.
Good morning, Chairman Reyes, members of the board. Frank Sanchez, county engineer. Staff received a petition to abandon a couple of alleyways out in the 8th Street and Avenue C area. The request is part of the El Prado subdivision, which was recorded back in 1927, and also part of the 8th Street West subdivision, which was recorded back in 1966. And you can see here, the request came from this property owner, and they want to abandon the north side of their property and the east side of their property. Here's a more detailed location of the request for abandonment.
What would it do if we abandon it? We abandon it to the landowners that abut to it? Is that what it boils on?
Correct.
So it becomes part of their property and they have to basically take care of it?
Correct.
Okay. I think I saw this happen in Gaston a couple of times where we had like alleyways that they're just simply not being maintained and they become nuisances to the neighborhood, so they asked for us to abandon them. Is that?
That is correct. And in most of the cases, there's either no utilities or no objections. In this case, we did get an objection from the city of Yuma. There is sanitary sewer lines that run along the north and east side of the property. And we also got notifications of objections from the adjacent, there's 3 property owners that are adjacent to the abandonment. And that was Ms. Ventura, Ms. Delgado, and Mr. Cervantes. Here you can see the existing sanitary sewer lines that are located in the proposed alley abandonment. And Ms. Ventura objected to the abandonment, Ms. Delgado, and actually Mr. Cervantes objected to the abandonment.
And the reasoning is, obviously that they feel that the sewer lines in there need to be on right of way that can be accessed by.
Yeah, that was the city's concern, that they wanted access to their facilities.
Is there a way to abandon them to the city? Oh, look, my concern is when something like this happens, a lot of the time it just becomes an area that nobody is responsible for. And the county just doesn't go out and maintain some of these areas. I mean, by maintaining, I mean clear it out and clean it and keep it clean. They become nuisance to the neighborhood until something like this happens, until somebody wants to sort of, take over that. And in this particular case, I can see where there's some objections to that, as you have sewer lines in that. It's not, to me, unusual to have a sewer line in a right-of-way. It just has to be kept as a right-of-way. So access has to be you have to leave access to it. So how do we end up?
Most of the time, utilities will sometimes have utility easements. So the county is able to abandon the right-of-way, but the utility maintains its easement. In this case, the city does not have a utility easement. It's in the right-of-way of the alley, which was constructed through the BC Colonial Sewer Project back in 2012. So staff is recommending denial of the petition. However, if the board approves the request,
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Are those abandoned cars in there? Well, if you see that map.
I believe Mr. Blanco uses the property as a sales.
I know that, but the ones in the easement, they're not abandoned cars, are they?
No. I believe they're part of Mr. Blanco's sales.
Okay. Okay.
So if the board approves the request, A resolution number will be assigned by county administration, which is 2022-34, is the number that they assigned this morning.
But let me open it up to the public and see what the public has or wants to say about it. Okay, Mr. Blanco has requested to address the board, so I'm going to open it up to the public on the public hearing section of this. And Mr. Blanco, you can come up and be the first one.
I brought some pictures just in case my flash drive didn't work. But I don't think we'll need them. Joe Blanco, good morning. It was just a coincidence that Gail brought up the thing about safety issue and the sheriff buying equipment for night vision. One of the main issues that we have here is the safety issue and no maintenance to these areas. It just so happens that if we go to the picture that it shows a white pickup. Oh, okay. I'm really shocked that Ms. Ventura, which is my aunt, my mom's sister, opposed. She's my neighbor.
Right.
Well, and she opposed to it, but as you can see, this is the alley on the other side of the street, which is El Prado. And this is our alley, which it was a problem that we inherited because we bought the properties and the property was like this already. It already had the fence on there. So 10 feet on her side is the alleyway. 10 feet on my side is the alleyway, which makes no sense for her to object to something that she might have to take apart her plants there.
Chair, Mr. Blanco, that fence across the alleyway was already there?
It was already there when I bought the property, yes. And actually, from what I understand, when they put the sewer system in, the contractor actually took it out, did the sewer system, and put it back.
John, does adverse possession come into play there?
I'm not sure you can adversely possess property from the government.
That's what I explained to my aunt, that it still belongs to the government. So if we go back here, we see a lot of down the alley. There's a lot of overgrown trees. There's some of the rest of the neighbors also took over the property, which is the alley, and then more overgrown trees. These are manholes that are on private property. So not all the manholes are actually on the easement or in the alleys. These are 5 manholes that are actually in private property. That's another one. That's another one in private property. And this one, from what I understand, I don't know the gentleman. He used to live here on this side. He closed up the gate and he put a fence there at his own cost. He's since passed away, so nobody's ever moved that fence around. And that's the alleyway that's about half a block down from where I'm at. So all I'm asking for is to be able to improve our safety in the area. I've talked to a few of the deputies, and some bad people come through the area, and I don't know, sometimes they get away, sometimes they catch them, but as you can see, they're not going to be able to get through the alleys to be able to go after some of those bad people that are in their area. That was one thing, the safety issue. The other one would be the maintenance, that there's nobody maintaining these areas. As Mr. Reyes says, they just abandon them in or the county or the city. And I think Mr. Sanchez mentioned that there's a easement, even if they were to hand over the areas or the properties, there's still an easement, so nobody's going to build on any of this. They still have access, and I think by then it'll be nicely clean where they could where the city has easy access to these areas. And I think that's pretty much it. Is there any questions I can answer?
Okay, go ahead.
What do you plan on doing if we abandon the alleyway? Are you gonna?
Part that's towards the residential property. We have a buffer zone there for our business, so it's like 20 feet. So it's only going to be 10 feet more, and then it's going to be the extra 10 feet that we need. So that'll be 20 feet. If not, we just have to move our operation just 10 feet over, and that's it. For us, it's okay. We don't have anything on there. We just move our fence over, and we're done. But for my neighbor, she has to remove all her whatever she has on there because irrigation, trees, whatever she's been growing on there. And on the other side, basically just keep it clean because we've had the utility companies come in and there's couches, there's a bunch of stuff that people throw on those alleys. And sometimes I just end up paying somebody to go up there and clean it up instead of calling somebody else to clean it up because they take a while to show up and pick it up.
Would you make your business that much bigger? Can you?
A little bit, yeah. Not that we're gonna gain it because we don't need that much space. Let's see, I don't think Well, we can't see it from here, but we saw it from the other diagram. There's more than enough space there for what we need it for. So we don't need the extra space. We're just trying to avoid having all these issues with trash, with maintenance, with people walking through that area.
The back part, huh?
The
That
back part, yeah,
end
that
side.
back part here. And this one, I'm just trying to correct this problem here because this problem, just like I said, we inherited this problem. This was already there when we were there.
I don't know, I can't figure out where your business is from.
It's right there where the white truck is at. It goes forward to 8th Street.
Oh, got
And
it,
this is
okay.
the alley going in the opposite direction.
That's the side of it, right?
Yeah, no, this is across the street from our business. And this one is where that alley is supposed to continue. So it's already been closed. And like I said, there's 10 feet going to Mrs. Ventura's property. And then there's 10 feet going this way. I don't have anything there, so I could easily move my fence over it, no problem. But she's already built a lot there. So I don't know why she objected. I don't think she understands what's going on. I mean, I told her that I was just gonna fix the problem, and apparently she thinks that I'm taking some of her property. I don't know. So, is there any questions, other questions?
Is that tree stump a stump, or is it just simply?
Those are palm trees.
No, the white one.
Oh, yeah, no, it's just there.
There was a tree there once?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just to keep people from hitting the fence.
All right.
It's so people can get over
Oh, yeah,
faster.
this is one of those.
That too.
All right, now let's just sort of sum it up. Thank you, Mr. Blanco. I think you explained the situation there, and then that's just really more common than most people realize. I mean, when something like this happens over time, like 1927, 1966, people out in the county, because I used to be county, just assume that.
Cook County.
Well, yeah, but I mean, back then,
Oh,
it was
okay.
wide open is what I
Okay,
just
okay.
meant to say. It wasn't, the city of Yuma wasn't saying much about it, but they inherited that sewer system. That's their supply system. So if we can make sure that the resolution makes it clear that there will be a right-of-way access to these utilities, the city of Yuma may decide it's okay. Unless they want to take over the maintenance and unless we want to maintain it. I've always said, look, it always behooves people living near it to be able to control it a little better. When they're trying to do a good job, when they're not, we take them to abatement process, as you told from the last item. We're not going to sort of stand by and watch that anymore. We're trying to fix the problems or try to fix the problems over there. If we find some willing private sector persons like yourself who are willing to take this on, it may be that it's a little better than nothing, which is what we do with those easements. I mean, there's a fence there already. I don't think we go in there and tear it in to get in. And if the city of Yuma needs to get to those manholes, they're gonna have to go through you, Mrs. Ventura's.
And the other neighbor that also had an objection to it, he signed my signature form.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure why. Yeah, maybe he doesn't understand either what's going on.
Well, they're probably thinking about the sewer line. And they
Oh,
probably
okay.
think that if they allow that to be abandoned, the sewer line will be abandoned and they
Yeah,
won't have
and they
any.
like having city sewer. I'm
Like
sure.
city sewer. So as long as we can clear that up. Now, can we leave this item and, or make it contingent upon certain things? Is that?
Mr. Chairman, if you look at the proposed resolution, it does note that the existing subject to Title 28 right-of-ways or easements for the following continue as they existed before disposal or abandonment, which includes existing sewer, gas, water, and similar pipelines and apparatuses, canals, laterals, ditches, and apparatuses, as well as electric, telephone, and similar lines and
Right, I did
apparatuses.
find it.
So if they're in place at the time of abandonments, the easements will exist.
Well, it's up to the board now.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve reference petition 2022-03.
I'll second.
Right, there's been a motion and seconded. Thank you, Mr. Blanco. Mr. Blanco, you don't have any more questions, do you? All right, fine, thank you. Frank, you want to say something?
Chairman, just for your information, the resolution number would be 2022-34.
Oh, 2022-34. All right, so we're abandoning the alley
So
by
amended.
passing a
So,
resolution,
yes.
resolution number
Second, the amendment.
2022-34. And again, I hope everybody understands that the purpose of this is to have someone be responsible there instead of trying to oversee this from afar. Any other questions on this resolution, this motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you, Mr. Blanco. All right, we'll move on then to item number 4, human resources. approve the grade salary adjustments for the attorney. I'm gonna stop right there. No, I'm just kidding. For attorneys, bar candidate, attorney 1, attorney 2, attorney 3, attorney 4, senior attorney, capital attorney, appellate attorney, chief deputy civil attorney, chief deputy criminal attorney, legal defender, public defender, and council administrator, effective October 31st, 2022.
Good morning, Chairman Reyes and members of the board. Felicia Frausto, Human Resources Director. Yes, presented to you today is information regarding a market study that was conducted for the attorney group. The attorney group affects the legal defender, the public defender, and the county attorney's office, as well as the conflict administrator. What we have found is that through the current course of our recruitment process, it has been difficult for us to fill these positions over the past several years, but really truly in the last 6 months, it's become really difficult, and the county attorney's office has experienced at least the loss of 6 attorneys, which that means it is very detrimental to their actual working, functioning well, not only for their attorneys, but as well for their legal secretaries. This is something that we work collaboratively with together to identify that the market itself showed that it was anywhere from 12% to 10% out of market. We worked with the Office of Management and Budget. We identified new grade structures for the attorneys, which will bring in alignment for the attorney group. And as you'll see here on the attachment, it identifies what the impact would be to the general fund for the proposed full year, but we're looking at how it would be effective as of October 31st of 2022, which would be an impact of over 1,400 hours, as you can see where it's represented from the general fund to the special revenue fund. And if there's further details of information regarding the funding source, we also have representation from the county attorney's office to speak on their behalf, as well as legal defender and public defender, and the Office of Management and Budget, Lucia Gomez, who could present you information on that as well.
Let me begin by telling you that every market study that I've ever seen, and I've been in politics for 40 years, never tells you that everybody is it's overpaid. There's a couple of positions, maybe. Most of them, when you order them, you should know. They're gonna come in and tell you that you're in Yuma County, next to California, you know, we're competing with Pima, we're competing with Maricopa. I know that the studies normally focus on counties about the same size. But having lived in a border community where there's 5 or 6 or 7 law enforcement agencies, I can tell you right now that they're always saying, you know, Border Patrol pays more, you know, whatever. So I've given up on the arguments about conducting, you know, market studies. But I do understand that inflation is tough. And I do understand that their salaries are probably not competitive enough to bring in talent. So given that outlook, the other question is does this market study already included the 5% that we gave this year?
Yes.
So these numbers already reflect the 5% increase, and they're still too low.
That is correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve.
Second.
Salary.
Everybody's afraid of the attorneys. I may say that. Everybody's afraid. We don't want you to stand up and argue for it because we'll be here for like until today, tomorrow. So anybody has any questions about this? Just don't hit us too soon with something else, some other market study too soon. Just give us some time to breathe. So is there any other item for discussion?
I just have a question.
Question.
I know later on, I think it's next year, we'll be talking about, for the whole county, something about market study or challenge. Are they gonna be included?
No, sir. At this time, and let me explain how that looks at. So for the market studies, we present from a human resources standpoint. Previously, we would present to the board every 2 years all of the positions. And we had found for a period of several years that that was not the most conducive and efficient way for us to be able to present information to you. So what we then did is we broke up by divisions within each department or office and has brought to you every other year, so this way it doesn't have a huge impact on the actual budget all at one time, so that we could gradually make those changes. So what will happen is, as we've made these adjustments today, 2 years from now, and we've had the conversation with all the offices, and I understand that they're all in full agreement, we will then present to you any and all information that if the positions are out of market, what that would occur. And if there's anything that's identified, anything beyond what the board has already specified for us, that we would take anything above the 10% out of market, then at that point, that's what we look at. If it's below that, we have the discussion with you, and depending on the need within the department itself or the office, that will help to identify what we would be presenting during the budget process.
I don't know if that answers your
So-
question, it's a long answer, but.
So it's no. I won't see it again.
Not,
Well,
not next,
not
not
until
this
2
year.
years from now.
In 2 years.
Okay.
All right. It is shocking no matter how you bring it, but it's better if you slice it up, technically. I mean, I do want to, before we take on the vote, and I think the motion's been made and seconded, that I do believe it's very difficult to keep up. But I do want to make it clear that the comparisons are always between apples and not apples and oranges. We're not talking about the private sector. We're not talking about Maricopa or Pima. We're talking about counties basically the same size with attorneys basically doing the same things. There are classifications of attorneys. It is difficult to see a market study doing anything else but just comparing you to someone that normally, essentially, it's a rat race. It's everybody competing with each other for basically the same talent. So, but it's inevitable. As far as I'm concerned, there's going to be improvements. That's how people sort of keep up. I mean, it's just tough. But we're a service organization. We pay our, we don't sell popcorn. We don't sell, bubble gum. We basically do services, and you can't do services when your employees are really ticked off about their salary, or when they compare themselves and find themselves lacking with other entities or other counties. So I think we're dealing with almost an inevitable situation when we're dealing with market studies and we're dealing with positions that are the same someplace else. Anyway, there was a motion and second, if I'm correct. There was a motion and second. Any more discussion on this item? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? And I want to say that not allowing the attorneys to defend it was probably a very good move. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So what, you weren't happy? You had a whole notebook that you wanted to go through and I didn't let you?
Yes, he
That is
did.
not necessary. Okay, so we're going to go to item number 5. Is that it? Oh, item number 5, okay. Update and presentation of the Yuma County Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Acknowledge the Yuma County program will terminate contingent upon funding availability. Authorize the transfer of Yuma County EARP program data to the Arizona Department of Economic Security to continue emergency rental assistance, and authorize the county administrator to execute the data sharing agreement with the AS, with Arizona DES. Do I hear a motion?
Yes.
Look, we've read enough. We know enough about this situation. We've seen you on TV. We've got it. So is there a second?
Second.
There's motion a second to approve all this, A, B, C, and D from the board. Is there any discussion on this item? You want me to explain it to you, or you want somebody to explain it to you? No? Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
All right.
Mr.
so-
Chairman, sorry to interrupt. Who was the first and second?
Oh, second.
Okay,
Thank you.
First and second.
got it. Thank you.
Now, this is, look, I'm going to take a vote on this and it'll be over soon, but this is about a program we set up during the pandemic, and it was supposed to help people who needed rental assistance. We had a fund to go through. We decided to keep it local at Western Arizona Council of Governments. DES normally does it statewide, but we felt that the residents of Yuma County needed a little bit of hand-holding through the process. We're getting to the end of the funding. We need to make a move and join the rest of the state. Is that more or less summarized?
That is it.
All right, okay, well, thank you then. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, ladies.
Let you off easy.
Right, so we're moving on now to the planning and zoning agenda, which is the short part of the
yeah.
agenda. We are going to the consent calendar first. So, on a full, we have full legal descriptions, property sites for all rezoning cases, and they're available for review at the Yuma County Board of Supervisors office. I'm going to open the consent calendar, which has one item, and, these items will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion. However, action is statutorily limited to approve the item as recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission or setting the item for public hearing. Now, this is a legalese thing that was added through time. We didn't have this before, but it was just a reminder of how little we can do with a consent item. If it's brought back up and we need to change it, it's got to go back to planning and zoning for further discussion. So we have one item in there, and this is rezoning case number 2216, Adian Vega from Dahl Rollins and Associates, agent for the Yuma Vineyards Farm LLC, requests the rezoning of a parcel 10 gross acres in size from rural area 10-acre minimum to suburban site build 2-acre minimum. The assessor's parcel number is 747-38-002, located at 3446 East County 15th Street, Yuma, Arizona. This is a consent item. Does anybody want to move it from the consent calendar? If not, do you want to do a brief presentation on it?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right, then.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion. Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve.
I finally see the results of that intensive training about keeping it short, right? So there's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
No, there's a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar as presented, the one item. No discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
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 I don't know how you're gonna claim you earned your money, whatever, you know, the Vega is, but you went through the whole process, so. That is there anybody opposed to it? No, motion carries. Then we move to the expedited rezoning and public hearings. These items will be open as a group for public hearing, acted upon one motion to adopt the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission, except that any item that is removed for the board member for separate consideration. The item will be discussed and acted upon separately following action on expedited items. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 cases. They're all expedited. Does anybody want to pull them out?
No.
If not, I'll take wait a minute. I have to open up the public hearing, which is what I need to do legally. I don't think we have to go through the process of, explaining it to us. It's expedited public hearing. I don't think I need to. I mean, I'm opening up to the public hearing. So if there's anybody here that wants to talk about any of the 2 or 3 or 4 items in here, I would need to open that particular item. Is there anybody that wants to talk about him? No? Does anybody on the board want to talk about it? Do you want to give a presentation on it? No? All right, then that makes it, I need a motion to go ahead and approve
Mr.
it.
Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve item 1 through 4.
Let me close the public hearing. Close the public hearing. I need a motion. The motion's been.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we accept the expedited rezoning and public hearing, items 1 through 4.
There's a second.
Second.
There's been motion and second to go ahead and take on the expedited rezoning and public hearing agenda as one. Any discussion on the item? No discussion. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. That takes care of all the expedited items. We'll go to regular public hearing items where the staff will make a full presentation. I don't know what that means, but it was highlighted in like really big red numbers on each of the following items, followed by separate discussion and a public hearing action by the Board of Supervisors. The first action is rezoning case number 2020-14, which is Fair Acres Holding LLC, which requests the zoning of a parcel 10 acres, gross acres in size, from suburban site build 5-acre minimum to suburban site build 2-acre minimum on assessor's parcel number 74860-001, located at the southeast corner of 15th Street and Sierra Sands Avenue in Yuma, Arizona. I'm going to open it with a PowerPoint presentation by the planning staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Javier Barraza, Senior Planner, presenting rezoning case 22-14. The intent is to create 5 parcels of 2 acres in size. This is the zoning and vicinity map showing the subject parcel highlighted at the center of the map. The parcel is currently in ag. There's one well on site to irrigate, and there are date palm trees on the west portion of the parcel. The rest is in desert terrain. Property is accessed on the northwest corner via Sierra Sands Avenue. Parcels 16 and 15 to the north are zoned suburban site build 2-acre minimum, improved with site build. Parcel 197-31-004 on the northwest is on RA10 in desert terrain. Parcel 7 is on RA5 in desert terrain, unimproved. Parcel 748, you can see the number 59006 is improved with a site build, zone RA5. Parcel 6 to the south is in desert terrain, zone SSB5, suburban site build 5-acre minimum. Parcel 5 is zone suburban site build 5-acre minimum, improved with the site build. Parcels 4, zone RA10, improved with site builds. Parcels 2 and 3 to the east, zone suburban site build, improved with site build. And last, parcel 14 on the northeast is also improved with site build dwelling, zone suburban site build 2 acre minimum. This is a sample that was submitted by the applicant, showing how it plans to divide the parcel. You see the axis, the easement to all the parcels, the end of the cul-de-sac. This is a zoom out aerial view. The subject property has the outline in red. Zoom in version of it. Current development around the area. This is a view looking south along Sierra Sands Avenue from County 15.5 Street. It's a gravel road, not maintained by Yuma County. This is a view looking south along Sierra Sands Avenue from Heavenly Place. It's right where the gravel road ends. This is a view looking south is the subject parcel from the northwest corner. View looking south at the west side of subject parcel. You see the well there. Staff received one letter in opposition from within the zoning area. MCS does not object this request. Planning Commission recommends approval of rezoning case number 22-14. Staff concurs with that recommendation, subject to the following performance condition. Within 60 days of board approval, the owner shall do the following: provide an ARS 12-1134 waiver, record an infrastructure disclosure statement, aviation disclosure statement, range disclosure statement, agricultural disclosure statement, and a schedule for development disclosure statement. Also, the following schedule for development. Within 1 year of board approval by the board and prior to approval of the land division permit, the owner shall apply for a grading permit with the Yuma County Engineering Department to improve the east 30 feet of the alignment of Avenue 4 3/4 E, also known as Sierra Sands Avenue, from County 15.5 Street to County 15 3/4 street alignment, or submit certification existing roads meets current policy. This bolded portion of this condition was added by the Planning and Zoning Commission. And the new access and utility easement as access built roads in a dust-free condition by application of an ABC or an access built road in a dust-free condition, referred as a standard C. The eastern end of the new access and utility easement shall be also contain the means of emergency vehicles to turn around. The turnaround shall be in accordance with the adopted International Fire Code and current Yuma County policies. Number 2, within 1 year of board approval and prior to approval of the land division permit, the owner shall submit certification from a licensed engineer confirming the roadway referred to in item 1 of the schedule for development was constructed according to standard C, gravel road. This is for the portion from County 15.5 to the northwest part of the parcel. And number 3, within 1 year approval by the board and prior to approval of the land division permit, the owner shall submit certification from a licensed engineer confirming the roadways referred to in item 1 of the schedule for development were constructed according to standard C, gravel road. That's for the internal easement. Number 4, within 1 year of board approval and prior to approval of the land division permit, the owner shall dedicate an additional 35 feet of right-of-way along the north side, the alignment of County 15 3/4 by means of warranty deed. Number 5, within 1 year of board approval, the owner or shall split the property by means of a land division permit in accordance with section 507 of the Yuma County zoning ordinance. Any required egress easement shall be recorded with the land division permit. Mr. Chairman, this concludes staff's presentation.
Let me see, you did the presentation, the Planning and Zoning Commission on a 6-0 vote voted in favor of it, and you staff recommending approval, right? I'm going to open up to the public. Is there anyone in the public that wants to address the board on this particular issue? If not, I'll turn it back to the board for their decision, or if they want to ask any questions. Oh, somebody coming in? Okay, come in.
Good morning, Chairman Reyes, members of the board. Sorry I didn't walk up before, but I'm the owner and applicant of that of the property. I thought you'd open that up and then me. So I want to thank staff. Been working with them throughout this. I wanted to talk about some of the schedule for development, and that was the reason why it didn't go on the expedited agenda. Do you mind going back to the site plan or the parcel map? So the schedule for development is to improve from County 15.5 to County 15 3/4 with that gravel standard, with an engineer. Half of that road is already a gravel road that Heavenly Place used. I'm asking to just improve from Heavenly Place south into my development in that cul-de-sac, not to go back and redo the existing gravel road that is already there and is already used by 6 properties to access their properties. You can see the side of the property. If there's those little circles or date palms. The way that
On that side right there?
on the west side, there's about 250 date trees there. The way that we have a couple more of these lots throughout the county, and the way that custom lot sales are going, these might not end up being homes for years. So to redo the existing road and then not to utilize any of that road for years is it's challenging for us. We need to do all this within a year of approval by the board. So we're just I agree with staff. The gravel roadway we'll submit a design. We take that standard, have an engineer submit a design. They design it, gets approved by the county. We go out and get special inspections for the road that's been engineered to the county standard. Bring it back to the county. Show, hey, here's our compaction report. Here's a letter from our engineer saying that it was built that. It's really challenging I can't find an engineer that will certify the first half of that road that was built about 14 or 15 years ago. So it's essentially digging that up, moving that aggregate, and then building the road all the way to County 15 and a half.
All right. I understand the concept. I do think there's ways to do that, like coring and just taking a core sample. I'd be concerned that if we request that the full road be done, obviously we're going to ask that it be even. If we leave that older section in there without doing anything, I'd say that we're going to put ourselves in a situation where if we don't request that up front, we're going to get into a situation where later on, if it doesn't develop, it will remain just a dirt road, which is not necessarily bad. But the problem we always have as a county is that when we don't request those improvements, they come to us and say, "Why didn't you?" When I looked at the development timeframes, I back in some of the other cases, a 1 year, coming back to the county with a 1 year plan seemed to me a little bit strict. But I didn't want to just go back and change it. But we can change that to be within 1 year, within 2 years, within 3 years, within 5 years. We haven't done that in the past. In this particular case, I'm not sure that, we're not going to change the zoning. We're not going to change anything. We're just going to change one of the requirements, or that's what you're asking us to do, change one of the requirements, basically requiring half the road to be done, if it needs to be done, and not require for us to test the other side to make sure that it fits. Because if you need an engineering degree to go do it, it's hardly ever going to be meeting current standards.
Right. And I can send them out to do a compaction test, and they can, the compaction test might say that portions of it are compacted correctly. The houses that are there have been using it for, I don't know, 10, 12 years. And, different, the development on Heavenly Place was built throughout different times. One of the properties was actually granted a permit for a guest house 2 years ago, and they use that road. I'm happy to, if we can, if there's an improvement district that we could be part of, or happy to pay, we're going to utilize that road too, or the people that we sell those parcels to, they're going to utilize that road too. So if there's a way to figure out, how to share in that cost, or for those people sharing that cost too, we'd be happy to. It's just for us to go back, develop the road, for them to use it for a number of years before we may build any properties, doesn't seem like the best way for me. But it doesn't feel like the best way for me because I'm the one that has to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, it's up to, thank you. I'm going to close the public hearing, go back to the board. What does the board think? What do you guys want? That's the only thing that the applicant is sort of questioning. It's whether he needs to tear that up and build a new one up to standards, or whether, he will require for him to prove that that road is up to standards, or whether we allow him to just improve the half that isn't improved so far. Those are the choices. What's the pleasure of the board?
I would make the motion that it be approved, but subject to improving the portion that he is developing.
Is this portion of the road outside your development area? The one that we're talking about, or is it inside your development area only that it's been done by the other side?
It's the other side.
Because
So, sorry, I'm shaking a little bit. This is the part of the road that we're talking about. It's not me. It's the mouse. It's the
Jonathan
pointer
Lyon,
shaking
okay.
some. It's not me.
Okay.
But this is the portion of the road that we're talking about. That is done. So Heavenly Place is right here. So from County 15 and a half down to Heavenly Place is that existing gravel road. Throughout the years of it being used, it seems that an engineer never went out and certified it.
Mr. Chairman, I would address this
But
personally because my wife got stuck there last week on Heavenly Place Road.
So then basically from Heavenly Place past this parcel down and into ours is where we're suggesting that.
The whole thing needs to be taken care of, but I would suggest again that he improve his portion
Yeah,
upon
that
developing it.
section right there,
Yes.
the red part. Mm-hmm.
we have a policy, we try to keep applicants from having to do something in someone else's property, because that could stop their development if somebody just doesn't like it, doesn't want it. So it's not a stretch for us to just simply request that you actually put that, was it chip seal on the side that it's under your control.
And into the cul-de-sac road.
Is that okay?
Yes.
All right, is that your motion,
Yes, sir.
Supervisor Lyons?
Yes, sir.
I'll second.
And a motion and second. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Right, the motion carries, and we move on to item number 4. Wait a minute, it's not item number 4. Where am I? Item number 2, which is a special use permit case number 2204. Chris Collier, agent for Powerhouse Management LLC, requests a special use permit per Section 613.03A and G of the Yuma County zoning ordinance to allow restaurant facilities, a multi-tenant shopping center focused on health and wellness, and a marijuana establishment on a parcel 9.12 acres inside zone light industrial, and assessors parcel 666. Somebody had to change that, but 66633-012 located at 1717 South Pacific Avenue, Yuma, Arizona. Mr. McCann or Mr. Collier will give a PowerPoint presentation. Is that the way you want to do it? All right, fine. First of all, Mr. Rubio would like to, yeah, that's what, I guess that's what I was talking about. Let's get the planning staff to first describe and then when we get to the public hearing, then we'll have Mr. Coyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Juan Leal Rubio, Planning and Zoning. This is a special use permit case number 2204. The property is located in the Gila Valley planning area at 1717 South Pacific Avenue. And as you mentioned, the intent is to develop various restaurant facilities, a multi-tenant shopping center focused on health and wellness, and a marijuana establishment. This is the vicinity map that shows the property cross-hatched, and we'll see surrounding uses. To the north, we have property zone C2, currently a vacant commercial property. We have properties to the north also, 66633-009, 95 and 8 parcel zone LI, currently being used as a boat storage facility. We have property to the northeast, parcel 96, currently the location of a substation, electrical substation. Property to the east, we have parcel 13, zone RA20, currently in ag. Parcels to the south, we have the Mirada del Sol subdivision, zone R3, and also parcel 100, which is currently vacant in ag. Parcels to the west, we have parcel 25, located in County Island, zone light industrial. Parcel 11, also to the west, within the City of Yuma municipal boundaries. And other parcels shown here also within the City of Yuma municipal boundaries, location of retention basins, and other uses, residential uses. Parcel 900, also to the west is location of a shopping center, Yuma Plaza, and also, as you see here, parcel 32. This is the proposed site plan that was submitted by the applicant that shows the intent of the property to develop for restaurants and the different shops. And the dispensary you'll see located on the northeast corner of the property. This is the aerial imagery of the property as it sits, the warehouse that has been unused for several years now, and other uses. This is looking east at the suburb property. Looking north along Pacific Avenue. Both access points to the property are within the county, unincorporated Yuma County. I received comments on this proposal. MCAS does not object to this proposal. The City of Yuma did respond to our request for comments, and their comment is that if the development of the property will require any new utility connections to the City of Yuma utility system, a pre-annexation development agreement will be required to be completed. The applicant also submitted 70 letters of support from residents of the Mirada del Sol subdivision located south of the property. And staff received 1 letter in opposition from a resident also in the Mirada del Sol subdivision. Staff is recommending approval of this special use permit with the following operational conditions. Number 1, that the approval of the special use permit is based on the site plan submitted by the applicant. Any changes to the site plan will require approval by the plan director pursuant to the Yuma County zoning ordinance. Number 2, our requirements, standards, and conditions listed in the Yuma County zoning ordinance, section 1116, marijuana establishments, as well as in state statutes must be met at all times. Number 3, if the proposed marijuana establishment will require any new utility connections to the City of Yuma utility system, the owner or agent shall complete a pre-annexation development agreement with the City of Yuma and may be subject to City of Yuma development standards. And the following performance conditions. Number 1, the owner shall submit an ARS 12-1134 waiver within 60 days of board approval. And number 2, within 2 years of board approval and prior to beginning operations, the owner shall acquire and have finalized all required permits as per code requirements. All structures shall meet the requirements of the Building Safety Code and the International Fire Code. And number 3, prior to the issuance of building permits, the marijuana establishment shall comply with section 1116 of the Yuma County zoning ordinance. And number 4, a traffic impact study shall be completed prior to building permits being issued. And that concludes staff's presentation. Ready to entertain any questions.
All right, any questions from staff? No questions from staff? Mr. Coyle? Chris?
Mr. Chairman, members of the Board of Supervisors, for the record, my name is Chris Collier. My address is 1 East Washington Street, Suite 2700, Phoenix, Arizona, 85004. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Powerhouse Management, and its owner, Susan Huang. I'm going to embarrass my client here just briefly because she's here after giving birth to a beautiful girl just less than 2 weeks ago. So very impressive that she's here today. I also want to say, yeah. We'll have the baby submit a speaker card. But I also want to say thank you to staff. They've been very helpful. We've been trying to be very methodical about this, given the nature of the use. It's been a longer process, and they've been very helpful to work with, and so I want to acknowledge that in front of this board. Let's see. Can I have a PowerPoint get brought up?
We appreciate brevity. I want to make sure that you know that, right?
Thank you. I'll try to be much quicker then. Thank you. So just some context here. Again, this is site is zoned light industrial. As you noted, it's currently vacant as former RV sales site. The request here is really 2 different types of uses. One is to allow basically your general commercial retail restaurant uses that otherwise wouldn't be allowed absent a special use permit in the light industrial district. Again, all that to be able to render this to be the commercial center that's focused on health and wellness. And then the second aspect is with respect to marijuana establishment, which most of my slides here are going to focus on given the sensitivity of that use. Just in brief, here is the site plan for the project. You'll note the dispensary, cultivation facility, infusion facility will be in the northeast. There will be 3 traditional fast food restaurants with a drive-through that are envisioned, traditional sit-down restaurant, and then 2 different retail/office kind of setups along the east side and the south side of the project. The intent here is to have the project be serviced by 2 different curb cuts as well. Something that's always important and is sensitive for our use for marijuana establishments is separation. Excuse me. And so this county has established a 500-foot separation requirement from residential properties. So in this case, we decided to certainly make sure that the property was located to meet that with respect to the Mirada del Sol subdivision to the south. We wanted to go farther than that. As was noted by staff, we reached out and went door to door to try to meet with as many of the members of that community as possible. And we received at least 70 letters of support. That represents 47 of the 67 homes that are there. I'll note that there was 1 letter of opposition that was noted by staff. Interestingly, that person that filed that letter of opposition also submitted a petition of support for us as well. And so you'll see that we have tremendous support, and the overwhelming response is that having this facility used this way, having cameras in the area actually activates the space and makes it safer. And given the fact that the subdivision goes out to 16th Street rather than to Pacific Avenue, there's really no concern with traffic impacts from that. I do want to note, though, on the separation aspect, there is a caretaker's residence or former caretaker's residence that is located in the self-storage unit directly to the north here. We are in the process of working with that because it's no longer used as a self-storage unit. But in any event, one of the stipulations will require that we cannot operate, can't even get building permits until that has been changed into an office or has been removed from the site. So we are working with that landowner about that and working with city staff or county staff on that process as well. So it's worth noting with respect to the dispensary marijuana establishment, the applicant here would be closing down their Jamestown dispensary location and relocating it here under the name of Best Dispensary, which is designed to be an upscale, very safe environment. What you see here is some imagery from their Mesa location, just to give you a sense of what it is. Again, the idea here is to provide a very safe environment, very well-managed upscale environment. You'll see here both there's the waiting area where there will be security, where identification will be required, as well as the retail area. You can't even enter into the retail area unless you're accompanied by an individual from a retail individual and can meet the appropriate age requirements. By state law, as well as under the county code, we're required to do a security plan. It's very robust. It requires having security guards in place. Every person must have an ID. It limits the number of individuals allowed within the facility, within the sales area, within any area where there could be cannabis, et cetera. Again, it's very, very highly regulated. That both comes from the state, the county, as well as the way that my client wants to operate the facility. In addition, there will be 24-hour video monitoring, both of the exterior and the interior. The facility will be locked with an alarm. Again, this is not your drive-through liquor stores that people are familiar with. This is a very highly regulated environment. And the one thing that is the most important to me is that individuals, if they are not there for lawful business, they have to leave. We don't want loiterers. It impacts the rest of the business. That's not what you're going to see here. It's not what you see somebody when they're outside of a liquor store like that. And the proof is in the numbers on that. What we did is we decided to do calls for service for the last 2 years, comparing both Ms. Huang's existing dispensary, her in Yuma, her Best Mesa dispensary, as well as some of the locations within the area here in the county of Yuma. And you'll see here that the number of calls for service, police calls for service, pales in comparison to some more traditional uses. It's also kind of set forth really in the data that we've been able to find. A study that was performed found that adding the dispensary actually reduced crime by 17 crimes per month, which represents a 19% decrease, and that drug-related crime also experienced a reduction by 14%. I didn't share it here, but the City of Tempe's Police Department also did a study where they compared some of the data from dispensaries compared to some local pharmacies, et cetera, and they found that the numbers for pharmacies such as CVS were much higher, had a much higher crime rate than the dispensaries that were within their area. And then lastly, there's really significant economic impacts by bringing this here. I won't read through all of these, but you'll see that, as developed, both as a dispensary as well as with the rest of the commercial development, has the potential for 446 jobs, 21.1 million in annual wages, and over 77.8 million in economic output. It also would be a great benefit fiscally for tax revenue across the county to the city if ever annexed, as well as to the surrounding area. And so with that, we're very pleased that we received a recommendation of approval from staff. We'll note that their development evaluation checklist scored us as 300 of 300, which we're very pleased with. We are completely comfortable with the operational conditions and performance conditions that were proposed by staff. We're also just as pleased with the Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation of 7-1. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.
What's 1134? What's the 60 day to get 1130? What is that?
I believe it's the requirement to basically, it waives certain property rights that we would have by agreeing to undergo through this process. Generally, there's certain rights that can't be taken by a municipal subdivision unless you waive them. And as part of the waiver, that's what you do to go through this. Correct me if I'm mistaken on that. But.
Is that correct? That is correct. Okay, and you agree with that?
I do, yeah. It's very standard in pretty much everything.
Any questions for Mr. Coyle?
Yeah, so because this is in my district and because I have been lobbied by no less than 30 or 40 people, all residing outside of Yuma County, I felt like it was important to do some due diligence, and most of the studies that you've cited cut off at about 2017.
Okay.
I read as of recently, Forbes was citing a 27% increase in crime in the areas where marijuana dispensaries have been located. And they made case studies in, the first case study was that, and we've got Tom Pancrazzi in the back who would be able to speak more to this, but in most of the case studies, they were looking at states where the residential valuation in markets went up. But then subsequently, after those areas had been saturated and additional states opened up, they saw a reduction in overall property taxes of 27% or value of the homes. Not necessarily property taxes, but that affects it. So as we have a fiduciary responsibility, that's my concern. We also have complaints for and from many different people here in the community who talk about some of their concerns revolving around public safety. So those are my concerns because those studies cut off in 2017. Subsequently, we have seen a spike, especially in Washington and Colorado, of 25% violent crimes. So that's where I have a hesitation to approve anything like that in an area that is so densely populated. I also had several people reach out to me, two people involved in commercial real estate in the area, and shop owners and managers and people, I believe, living in that subdivision who are concerned about that. I have not heard anybody from inside the city of Yuma telling me that they wanted it, other than those letters of support which you guys had acquired. So those are my concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Lyons. I appreciate your concerns. I wasn't aware of that study. I certainly wasn't trying to avoid it. These were the studies that I had found. Certainly with respect to the Mirada del Sol subdivision, I think that those concerns are certainly alleviated in some sense because, for example, you do have an inactive site right now that itself attracts blight, attracts crime. It's also, as I said, it doesn't have an easy access point to it. There's nobody traffic will not be going in, traffic will not be going out. It's also, again, worth noting the fact that these are highly regulated. I can't compare it to other states, but within the state of Arizona, you're required to have a very robust security plan. And if you do not, you lose your license. If you do not follow the requirements that are set forth by state statute or even under county statute, you either lose your special use permit or you lose your license. And again, I think that the data really that shows from a security standpoint is really what we found from a comparison of the last 2 years. The Jamestown dispensary within the city of Yuma, as well as the Best Mesa dispensary, we've had 4 calls for service from each of those in the last 2 years compared to something such as a Target that has up to over 50. And so I think that by activating the space here, given the fact that this is zoned light industrial already, it's not that it's a commercial area, it's not that it's a residential zoned parcel, it's already light industrial. So I actually think by creating something that is more of a softer use with the commercial component that we want to do will actually improve the welfare of the citizens in the area.
Sure, Supervisor.
I was in the legislature when this passed, and I know that to get it passed, that we learned a lot from the other states that had already approved it and put in a lot more restrictions on it than were
Imposed everywhere else. You put more, you put more restrictions on the ones in Arizona based on the experiences that other states have.
Colorado and Washington State.
Any other questions, Mr.?
However, most of those studies cut off and you don't have the current data.
That's right, on seven. That's
And
right.
so with the
That's
spike
true.
in the violent crime, that's where my concerns
That's true.
revolve.
And I think that actually comes from the fact that some of those dispensaries are located in areas where there was already traffic in there. This is designed to be specifically designed so that you avoid having that traffic problem. I mean, if you put a dispensary in the middle of Somerton, or you put a dispensary in the middle of Yuma, I mean, the idea that it's not going to attract some kind of element that may give you problems, it's kind of a little innocent in that way. But I think that this design, especially in that area, I've seen that area and I've seen it not go anywhere for a lot of years. It's kind of a, it's a private investment that is going to, I think, return something. It has a controversial portion of it, which is what we're discussing. But essentially, and to see all the commercial entities have a particular problem with it, it's sort of like private sector competition. Normally, you would believe that additional commercial traffic benefits everybody, but not everybody looks at the same way, especially that controversial side of it. So I understand the concerns, and I think that, again, that's why we have this hearing, so that you answer some of them. Thank you very much. Appreciate all the information.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the public that wants to address the board on this particular issue? Right. We're going to, I'm going to close the public hearing, go back to the board. What is the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to deny.
Right, is there another motion? That motion dies for like a second.
I'll make a motion to approve this special use permit case number 22-04 as plan and zoning
And staff recommend.
Recommended.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second to approve the petition as presented. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by stating aye.
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 Anybody opposed?
Nay.
The motion carries 4-1. So proceed and fill up. I hope to see something that looks like that. All right, we'll go on to the next item, which is reversion of public hearings or reversion public hearings in accordance with section 404.01. Is that a 1 or an L or whatever? 7 of the Yuma County zoning ordinance. The board will conduct a hearing to grant an extension of time to comply. Am I gonna? Okay, I'm gonna wait a minute. I think we need a second. Ready? We ready? Are we ready? Are we ready? Ready? Okay, let's go. The reversion public hearings in accordance with section 404.01, something 7 of the. Aye?
It's
Is
an
it
aye.
Aye. 7 of the Yuma County zoning ordinance. The board will conduct a hearing to grant an extension of time to comply with the schedule for development, determine compliance with the schedule for development, or cause the property to revert to its former zoning classification in the following cases. Department of Development Services, Planning and Zoning Division, rezoning case number 07-35 in accordance with the Yuma County zoning ordinance, section 404.01I, 7, action to grant an extension of time to Stacy Kincaid from Water Asset Management, agent for WP1 or I. 2, Tuscan Ranch, Arizona LLC to comply with the schedule for development, determine compliance with the schedule for development, or cause the property to revert to its former rural area 10-acre minimum size and low-density residential square feet. Zoning classification on assessor parcels number 747-56-003, 747-64-001, and 747-63-037, located on the west side of County 15 3/4 Street and Avenue 4E, Yuma, Arizona. You want to give us a small summary of why we're having a virtual hearing?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Javier Barraza, Senior Planner, presenting rezoning case number 0735. This is the site plan, the zoning and vicinity map showing parcels 337 and 1. It's on PD at this moment. This is the concept map submitted back in 2008, 7. This is the current stage of the property outlined in blue. The owner is requesting an extension of 2 years to comply with the schedule for development. And staff recommends granting an extension of time 2 years to comply with the schedule for development.
Any questions on this? Do we have to have a public hearing on this? No? No? Okay, well then, the board,
Has the applicant come forward and,
they requested an extension. From what I
Mr.
said.
Chairman, they did request it.
thank you.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
You open it for a public hearing.
I thought so, but, you know, I'm opening it up to the public. Is there anyone in the public that wants to talk about this particular case? If not, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. Is there a motion to either deny or approve the request for an extension?
I move that we approve the request.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's been a motion, and a second, to approve the request for an extension of time. Now, is it 2-year extension of time?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. It's a 2-year extension.
Right, so 2-year extension of time. The Stacy Kincaid from Water Asset Management. Is there any more discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Move on to the last, well, not last, because we got an executive meeting coming up. So we're gonna go to discussion regarding legislative issues.
Chairman, members of the board, Alejandro Figueroa, Economic Development and Intergovernmental Affairs Director. So today's legislative update, I'll start with the update on Yuma County biosolid proposal. Just so you know, the CSA, after they approved it, they adopted it as one of their priorities for next year. They've asked Yuma County for our support reviewing the proposal legally for any infringement on the Interstate Commerce Clause. So thankfully enough, the Yuma County Attorney's Office has agreed to review it. So we hope to hear from them in the next couple of weeks. And after that, we'll work on getting it sponsored in either the House or the Senate or both. Update on the legislative roundtable that we're planning to host here in Yuma County. We have 2 potential dates, December 13 and the 16th, at the library. We are planning to invite all Yuma County elected officials, state legislators, and Yuma County department heads. Unfortunately, what I've heard so far is that the December 13th date will not work for new members of the House, since they're going to be holding their orientation session that day. But we don't know until November 8th happens, and we figure out what happens with the election. I would like to mention that the agenda for the last meeting we had on December of last year, we discussed state budget, we discussed broadband, key bills moving through the legislature, and the priorities for state legislators. If there's anything the board would like to discuss on top of that for this upcoming meeting, feel free to let me know, and I'll add it to the agenda.
Our poop bill,
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman?
our biosolids bill.
So we'll be working on the agenda for the event and hopefully finalizing the date fairly soon. Just want to remind the public that tomorrow, November 8th, is the election date. We would like to encourage citizens in Yuma County to participate and cast their vote. If a voter received an early ballot by mail and has not yet returned it, they can visit one of the 6 early ballot drop-off locations throughout the county or drop it off at any vote center location on election day. So the County Managers Association held a meeting last week, and they discussed this proposal by the National Association of Counties and the Western Interstate Region to contribute the equivalent of 1% of their of the county's recent local assistance and tribal consistency fund. Allocation to capitalize a nationwide National Center for Public Lands Counties. The initiative aims to raise $50 million in funds from counties across the country and fund the center on an ongoing basis using the fund's interest. For reference, Arizona has the 8th highest pill concentration in the nation. Or the initiative aims to raise $50 million in funds from counties, and they're hoping to get the pledges in by January 31st of next year. This is optional, obviously, voluntary for the counties, and this is just to give the board a heads up because the CSA board will be discussing this ask next week during the CSA Board of Directors. Yuma County, if the board decides to pledge from a general fund, it will be a total of $120,000 to this center. It could be split into 2 years or one single payment if the board decides to do so. CSA will follow up with a letter of request, and it hopes to identify pledges by December 15.
And what, excuse me, Mr. Chair, Alejandro, what exactly does this do?
So they will create the National Center for Public Lands and Counties to hopefully do more research on the topic of PILT and how it affects counties and states across the nation, and have a bigger influence in Washington, D.C. through this center. And I would, like for the county administrator, if he has any.
Sure, yeah. I mean,
comments on that.
obviously, one of the top priorities for federal legislation from the board for many years has been permanent funding of PILT, and that remains a top priority of this group. This received a very, I'd say, warm response from the other county managers on the call. I would suspect that boards across the state will support this initiative to make sure we have a seat at the table. These are critical discussions for critical funding that we rely on.
$3 million.
Well, I think that we made the political argument. What we need to do is back it up by some figures that needs to come from some other entity that is basically focused on this. It's the same issue with water, the same issue with a lot of those issues that get to Congress get pushed through just through political involvement. But in some cases, you need to back it up with some numbers. In this particular case, I think we have no real numbers that focus on the impact of PILT in some of these communities like Yuma County that only has like 11 or 12% or something like that of private land, and the rest of it is only federal, state. And so we really are in a situation where those kind of studies will fortify our argument that, we in counties like us, really depend a lot on having to service a lot of land that isn't really ours. Technically isn't really our jurisdiction. It's basically federal or state jurisdiction. And we wanted to make sure that at least the federal part of it, I don't think we have a very big argument with the state. The state is focused on whatever state needs, come up. But in terms of the federal, we go to Washington every year, and every year we make the argument that we shouldn't go out there begging every time. But I don't know if we ever back it up with numbers that basically say, this is how much it actually cost us to we cease to have revenue because you guys don't move your lands at all. I mean, it takes an act of Congress to basically exchange federal land for state land, or to turn any federal land to private. It takes an act of Congress, and it really is something that I think we need to emphasize somehow in a better way if we don't want to continue going to Congress every year with our hands out saying, we need some help.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, continue.
So moving on, and speaking of visiting Washington, D.C., NACO will be hosting its legislative conference on February 11th through the 14th. It brings nearly 2,000 elected officials, appointed and elected officials to focus on federal policy issues that impact counties and their residents. Unless we hear something different from the board, we're planning to and hoping to schedule meetings with Congress elected officials on Tuesday the 14th or the 15th if necessary.
I do want to I do want to comment after going to Washington for 30, 40 years that essentially when you do that, the representatives and senators are getting wise to this. So they're scheduling like general meetings with the delegation, as opposed to having those private meetings. They're having breakfast with people, with supervisors or things like that, because they understand that when we go down there, we're going to be competing with everybody else that goes down there. For years, I've been trying to say, look, I'm not really that keen on the meetings on the 12th or the 12th, the 13th, which is what they call legislative day. If you can schedule them on Friday or Saturday or Sunday or Monday, or, if you can schedule them at any time, you should get them at any time. When we're trying to get them at the same day that everybody else is, they sort of give you like a 15-minute break, and you go in and you make your point and you get out, because that's essentially what you do. By them calling it the legislative day, they're making sure that the representatives are just going to, if they're not there, you miss it. And they're getting too wise about that. So what I'd say is, look, let's just see if we can get some of these appointments done earlier. Even if you have to show up like on a Saturday or a Friday, even if it's just 3 of us or 2 of us or 4 of us, but at least we get the appointment. Because normally what you end up is getting the appointment with the staff, because they're in the session and they're busy. And look, if we can get them to stay for a Saturday morning meeting, I think it'd work out better for us. We won't be competing so much, if it's possible, because they do schedule this themselves.
Mr. Chairman, and just for some context, so this meeting will be taking, the conference will be taking place from Saturday through Tuesday.
Some of us are going to be there Friday, or even we can, actually, we're far away. I don't know who scheduled their flights yet, but I know that their hotel rooms are scheduled from Friday on. Maybe we can still do something about it. But even if 2 of us, 3 of us get to meet with some of them on Monday, for example, and we get back Monday morning, or, I like the general session, and I like the camaraderie and the stuff that you do, because you do a lot of stuff. But if the most important thing we have is the legislative day and we end up competing on that Tuesday to get in, it just makes it a little more difficult. Let's see if we can find a better way to do this.
Absolutely. I will do my best to do so, yes. And just to go over, it's that time of the year again. These are our federal priorities for this year. If there are any you would like to take off or add, including for next year, I would be more than glad to do that.
I don't know. It's going to be past the election, so we'll know if it's settled. And I think that in some ways, Yuma County needs to start pushing for some kind of reform that is going to help us with the immigration problem here, that isn't, kicked around by every administration to postpone it. We do need some immigration reform. We can't be having all these Venezuelans come and all these people come to Yuma County. There has to be some sort of legislation that addresses that, and it's not an administrative issue. It's been kicked around for 20, 30 years, but nobody does anything because it plays up to some political. But I think that as a county, we got to stop just saying we have this problem and ask them, hey, solve this problem, will you? And so, comprehensive, I don't know, every time you call it comprehensive immigration reform, it gets caught in the mud. So just call it immigration reform, or find another way to describe it. Maybe solutions to the immigration problem, or something that we can actually talk to the legislators and say, guys, come on. Every 4 years, you just change the tactic. We don't change anything. The problem.
What were they called?
Gang of 8.
Gang of 8.
Yeah, bring back the gang of 8.
Bring back the Gang of 8.
Don't bring up any gangs. No, what I'm saying is you address those too. You actually have Restore State Criminal Alien System Program, which is one. And you do have support agricultural labor reform. But that only makes it like, okay, we got one issue, which is getting some of these farm workers to the farmers, through that permit. But we don't. In Yuma County, we've had issues for 20, 30 years with immigration, when it isn't this way, it's that way. But it's always because the regular process isn't really a regular process anymore. There really isn't one. So we need to start addressing the issue in a way to find a solution, not in a way to deal with the problem all the time. I mean, taking illegal immigrants or taking people, refugees or something someplace else doesn't do nothing but move the problem anywhere. The problem continues to be the problem, and the problem is the border, and we're a border county. We should start addressing that issue to get a solution, as opposed to just sort of, get a talking point out of it. Okay, so I'm just suggesting that we add something to it that addresses the fact that we have issues that need to be addressed on the long term, or short term and long term.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification purposes, so this new priority would not replace
No.
SCAP nor the
No,
agriculture reform.
I don't think so. I think we need to continue supporting the agricultural sector in Yuma County by trying to get them more permits so people can come across and just come work and go back. And maybe it would be a better focus to simply say, set aside as many as local farmers need in Yuma County. Do not just simply set aside 50,000 and try to split it up between the farming industry and the milk industry and the poultry industry and however many industries we got. Just simply say, look, Yuma County needs 40. Let's find out from the farmers. They need 30, they need 40, and set them and try to get a set aside. That would solve that problem. But the issue of people crossing the border, it's just more complex than that. Right?
Thank you. On the international front, on October 20th, the Greater Yuma Port Authority hosted a groundbreaking for the Gary J. Magrino Industrial Park's fourth phase of development. This will bring forth 86 acres of light industrial development adjacent to the San Luis II commercial port of entry. Then on Saturday, October 22nd, the mayor's annual international bike ride took place with the participation of more than 250 bicycle riders from across our binational border region. Just so you know, participation did grow from last year, about 20, 30 more.
That's because Supervisor Borges here was there with all this crew.
He was there. He participated when.
Yeah, he's just remnants from being the mayor of something.
You the one the ambulance was behind with the oxygen?
Yeah,
I was actually pushing the ambulance with the
backwards. He was pushing the ambulance backwards.
There was participation from the city of Calexico and Mexicali, which was very, very nice. On October 27, the U.S. Department of State held its regional binational bridges and border crossings at the city of San Luis. Representatives from the U.S. and Mexico federal governments, state and local officials from Arizona, California, and Sonora came together to discuss the status of the status of the border infrastructure projects that are priority to the United States, such as the San Luis I Port of Entry expansion project.
Alejandro, before you leave that, if you can get it from Jenny or get it from CSA, get the the preliminary design that they have in entrances and exits, both the exit into Mexico and the entrance from Mexico into the United States, because it's going to be a critical issue. If you keep downtown San Luis away from the traffic, you're going to continue having a deterioration in that area. So, I mean, I kept mentioning that, but from the preliminary design that we've gotten, they keep moving the entrance into the United States further east. I mean, yes, further east, which only moves it further east from the downtown. And they keep moving the exit to the south further west. And, well, I don't know if I can move it further west without going downhill, but, I mean, I like to see that.
Absolutely.
And I like the rest of the board to get a sense of what's going on over there, an idea.
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. Well, that concludes my presentation for today. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from Alejandro? Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch. The next item is the events calendar and current events. Before we go into executive session, we do have an executive session to go to right after this. So, Lynn,
I'm ready.
Pancracia, you ready?
I am.
Go for it.
I attended the Domestic Violence Awareness Vigil and presented the proclamation. I attended the open house for the Orchard Renewable Power Project. I'm very excited about that. I attended the Binational Bridges and Borders Crossing public sessions. I attended the WACOG at WACOG, I met with the housing director concerning how they select folks and how they use their funds for people for housing. I met with some constituents. I attended the Yuma 50 fundraiser out at AWC. It was all the different businesses in town are restaurants in town did different parts of the meal, and I voted for the San Luis. Oh, it was shrimp. What's that place called? Oh, it was so good. Anyway, San Luis. But it didn't win.
It was either Mr. Chovis or Los Angulos.
San Luis. What?
Mr. Chovis? Mr. Chovis. Los Angulos? No.
Forget what it was called.
I'm not
It
gonna
was
dwell on that.
bowls and it was something.
Oh, it's the
bowls.
San Luis, bowls and
Bowls and bowls. Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's supposed to be rolls and bowls, you tell you.
It was good.
Like Japanese, Chinese.
Yeah, but Prison Hill won. So anyway, there were several different places, and the dessert was from the Landing, and it was delicious. So, and the main course was from the place down there that's all meat downtown. Oh well. Anyway, it was really good. And then
I'm starting to get hungry, so move on.
Okay. I judged the YRMC Quality of Fame projects that they had out at YRMC, and it's just amazing what it's the employees come up with projects to improve the quality of care at YRMC, and then they present it, and then you judge it, and it was amazing. So, okay,
all right,
there we go.
Okay, Supervisor Lai.
Nothing today.
Nothing today. Supervisor.
Couple of things. Attended the domestic violence awareness visual, and had a meeting in reference to 197 Main.
It's in my district.
And just meeting with a bunch of different people over different things.
Supervisor Porches.
Well, I attended the bike, mayors and county supervisors bike.
The international border mayors crossing bike ride or something.
And I also had a meeting with Grijalva, I think it was last or 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a good conversation about what he wants to bring and help Yuma County with some projects.
You know, Supervisor Porches, that coming of Grijalva to Somerton reminded me of Ed Pastor coming to San Luis all the time. You know, they found a favorite place where they show up in the district over here, and Somerton happens to be Grijalva's favorite spot. Going on that, Congressman Gallegos, who I was surprised decided to visit San Luis and Somerton in the South County, came in, and it allowed us to have a discussion about Cesar Chavez Boulevard and about the future of the border crossing and the commercial border crossing. There are 3 items, I think, that deserve to be put high on top of the agenda in San Luis, at least in South County. One is basically covers South County, but one is obviously the improvements to be done on Cesar Chavez Boulevard, because that's like every project that we have undertaken in both the county and the cities, where a project that was supposed to cost a few $1 million ended up costing 33 million and now 50 million. And I sense that for some reason we always end up with a problem that is always funding problem. And I think time is never on our side. So that's one. The second one is the second loop connection that connects San Luis to that new area of development. It's called County 24. It is now called County 24, where the right-of-ways have been acquired to connect to loop, and not only through Cesar Chavez, but through County 24, which I think is a big project. And the third one is the one that connects the area of Somerton with the area of the border crossing, whether it's the commercial border crossing right now, or even the small airport in that area. That one, I think, has been coming for a while. I mean, Supervisor Porches back when he was mayor, and it's been a discussion item that I think it keeps sort of being put in a situation where it may or may not happen, depending on whether we get federal funding, whether we do a lot of stuff. But as time goes by, it gets increasingly more difficult for me to see, if we don't secure the right of way to do that pretty soon that date growing section that is sort of moving along the edge of the mesa, it's going to be a situation where we're going to have to buy somebody's properties that get through and get down, you know, and connect Somerton with the rest of the area around there. Now, I do, before we move on, I want to recognize the man with two first names, Josh Scott, who is the deputy director and is sitting here with us. I never remember whether it's Josh or whether it's Scott, but, you know, Josh Scott, and welcome to, you went from the frying pan to the whatever it's called, from hot to hotter. But thank you for being here and appreciate, and I know you've been a quiet presence, but I know you wield some power. So welcome to the fold, and hopefully this will be a very, very good relationship that will last a long time. Anything else? Now you go. Ian, wait a minute. Mugehi.
Magehi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Get the spelling right, but the pronunciation wrong.
Had a number of meetings, transitional meetings for some of my direct reports over to Josh, so those have been fruitful. Attended the Magrino Industrial Park groundbreaking ceremony, County Managers Association meeting, met with Acting City of Yuma Administrator Jay Simonton, met with Annette Lagunas at the Humane Society regarding the community cat issue. Arizona at Work monthly meeting, we had our annual Halloween costume contest for this building. Human Resources dominated that. And this coming Saturday, I'll be joining the library's book nerds team at the Alzheimer's Walk. So that's it.
All right. Anything else before we go into executive session? And let me explain that executive session meeting a little bit. This will adjourn the regular session portion of the agenda and convene on executive session pursuant to our Arizona revised statutes and address the items listed in the executive section portion of the agenda. We will go into executive session, and if anybody wants to know what happened in executive action after we'll reconvene into regular session after the adjournment of the executive session. We need everybody that isn't participating in the executive session, that isn't allowed, to please either, if you want to see what the outcome of that would be, to remain. This will be discussion and consultation for legal advice with the county authority in order to consider its position and instruct its attorneys regarding anticipated litigation involving water transfers from the Colorado River to the town of Queen Creek, Arizona. This is brought in executive session pursuant to Arizona revised status. All right, we're back into regular session. I need a motion to go back into regular session from executive session.
Make a motion to
Back into regular session.
go back to regular session.
We are second. We got a motion, a second, to go back into regular session. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries, and we have an item under the executive session that was discussed. It is discussion of consultation for legal advice with the county attorney in order to consider the Yuma County's position on the town of Queen Creek water transfer from the Colorado River. And after further discussion, what is the pleasure of the board? The issues here are whether to join them.
Join the, I move that we join the lawsuit against the
Bureau of Reclamation.
And that we include the possibility of investing some funds in the lawsuit, right?
Yeah, and yes.
Bring it back for us to decision. Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Not all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Motion carries. And I'll go back to, we're in the regular session, so this concludes the items that we had for discussion this morning. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, and we'll see you soon.